Can you believe it's already March of 2020? And we're cruising through the early part of this year, and thankfully, the game releases are really starting to pick back up. Today we're talking about 10 games to keep an eye on releasing in March 2020. Now let's get started off with number 10 and talk about Ori and the Will of the Wisps. This is the follow-up to Ori and the Blind Forest, the Xbox One game released a few years back. If you don't know, it's essentially a Metroidvania-style game where you control like a wispy spirit. This time, you're working with a new animal. Apparently, the upgrade system has kind of changed to be a little bit more like Charms from Hollow Knight. It's been related to. But generally, for a lot of people, if you played Ori and the Blind Forest, it caught a lot of people by surprise. So those people are all, I guarantee you, really looking forward to this one, because if it's anything like the first one, it's going to be incredibly challenging, surprisingly, and also just very engaging from a story perspective. And from what we have seen so far, the way they tell the stories in these games with very minimalist elements, it really works. And we're hoping that Ori and the Will of the Wisps kind of improves on the already fantastic original game. We'll find out soon enough because it's releasing on Xbox and PC through their service type of thing, but we're also going to see it on Steam, but it is releasing on March 11th. Now next at number 9 we have Persona 5 Royal, which is essentially the Persona 4 Golden type of thing, but now they're doing it with 5. But apparently, Persona 5 Royal to Persona 5 is blown out even more and has a ton of content. People have come back from seeing this game saying that it's almost like a completely different game. Expect new characters, confidants, more story depth, new locations, a grappling hook mechanic that is added to certain scenarios. And the new content is really great, but also I think it's worth pointing out that it is another excuse for people to try a Persona game. If they've never before, this is a really good one to try, because we did it before you buy on the original Persona 5 when it released, and it was an incredibly awesome game. Tons of length, tons of story depth, fun turn-based battles, like a really interesting world you can get lost in with fun music and graphics. And with Persona 5 Royal, if you didn't play the original Persona 5, well, now you're just getting a bigger, badder version. But thankfully, it does seem like Atlus really is putting the work in behind it, so it's not just like they're asking for your cash again, Well, we'll know for sure when it drops on March 31st. Now next at number 8 we have Bleeding Edge, which believe it or not is actually a Ninja Theory game. This is one of the games they made for Xbox, and it's more of a competitive multiplayer based game focusing around a cast of colorful, creatively designed characters that all have their own unique attacks, abilities, and traversal, and of course they all have to play their role in this competitive game. If that sounds a little familiar to you, like a lot of other games that have been releasing, yeah, but what we do have here is just a really cool aesthetic, the movement, and also the fact that it's third-person action. If that's something you're into and you got a little bit of a competitive streak in you, Bleeding Edge might be your thing. It's 4 versus 4, it's mostly melee, and I gotta say the characters are pretty interesting. I really like the way they kind of change things up and keep the roster variety really fresh. Some of these characters look outright wild. There's ways to mod the different characters to kind of change the playstyle a little bit within their categories. There's also a bunch of skins and stuff like that. I really don't know about this one. I'm cautiously optimistic, but I do really like Ninja Theory and what they've made in the past, so I got my eye on it for that alone. We'll be getting our hands on it March 24th on Xbox and console, so yeah. But over at number 7, we have One Piece Pirate Warriors 4. Now, One Piece Pirate Warriors 4 is essentially the latest entry in the Pirate Warriors offshoot of One Piece games, which mixes the characters and settings of the long-running One Piece series with the gameplay style you've come to expect from something like Dynasty Warriors. But this time it adds new stuff like Titan Mode, which features more strategic gameplay and some original story, which is cool, I guess, but thankfully you can also play through some of the most iconic episodes if you're a fan. Also, there's said to be a bunch more destructible environments and buildings, which definitely has the potential for more fun, especially when you're dealing with apparently 40 playable characters here. So yeah, by saying Warriors and One Piece and saying it's like Dynasty Warriors might be a little reductive in some cases, but it's Koei Tecmo, you kind of know what to expect here, and if you love anime games, you kind of know what the deal is going in here. It's dropping March 26th. Now next at number 6, we have Pokémon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon is finally heading to the Nintendo Switch, and this is one that just looks especially like a nice change of pace from the usual Pokemon formula, considering some of the fan base has been a little bit more divided on it lately. We've said this before, but this is a remake of the 2005 Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue Rescue Team and Red Rescue Team. Now, you start out playing as a human who is turned into a Pokemon, and you pick a partner Pokemon, and you go out and do missions and do jobs, and of course, go through dungeons, all with these fun turn-based battles. These games certainly have a very specific but fun appeal, and I'm glad it's getting a new lease on life on the Nintendo Switch this March, for real. Now, next over at number 5, we have Nioh 2. This time you create your own character, and it's technically a prequel to the original game from 2017. It's Team Ninja, again, who are capable of making really badass action combat games. I mean, they proved themselves with the surprise hit of the original game. It feels like it came out of nowhere. This time around, though, the overall scale looks larger, the stakes and the enemies look crazier, way more over the top. We know there's new skills. There was also a beta a few months back. I've said this before, but like we didn't touch it, but the gameplay coming out of it, the YouTube videos, do look really cool. The original game was a really solid take on the Soulsborne formula, and it really won over a lot of fans. The game had surprise points for being entertaining, challenging, and having some really, really cool bosses. Here's hoping now Team Ninja can capitalize on their success and build something even crazier here with this one. More character build opportunities, more weapons, more stuff to kill. What could go wrong? Well, we'll find out whether or not March 13th. Now down to number 4, we have MLB The Show 20. If you like baseball games, well, you're getting another one. You know, refinements to the gameplay, an updated roster, but most importantly, I do want to point out this year we're getting full minor league support. So essentially by updating the roster with the minor leagues, that really can greatly expand the game, especially if you're a hardcore baseball fan and you follow all that stuff. And I also want to point out that this year and maybe next year is probably going to be the last hurrah of MLB The Show being a PlayStation exclusive thing. If you've been following the news, that has now opened up. And in a few years, you're going to be seeing MLB The Show, thankfully, on all platforms. But yeah, that's the deal. I know if you watch gameranx, you probably know like we're not like the biggest sports game guys, but MLB The Show 20 is dropping on March 17th, so good luck, go have fun. Now at number 3, of course, we gotta talk about Animal Crossing New Horizons. Where to start? I don't know. Honestly, we got that new Nintendo Direct. We got a ton of new information, but honestly, it does seem like Nintendo, what they're going for here is very much, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Animal Crossing, now it's on the Switch. You're gonna play it, you dummy. Animal Crossing has always had a really charming and surprising appeal. Part life simulator, part grind, part adventure game, part town simulator RPG thing. It's hard to really identify what type of game really Animal Crossing is other than an Animal Crossing game, and I'm excited for this to come to the Switch because that means there's a lot of newcomers and a lot of new people are going to be exposed to this franchise, and that's good because I'm not super crazy about the mobile version. You're gonna be on an island, you're gonna start out in a tent with a couple of other characters on the island, you're gonna work your way up and eventually have a house. You're of course indebted to Tom Nook, but now there's going to be certain milestones to check off, maybe to engage you a little bit more as a player. There's going to be full multiplayer support. Really, the potential here is awesome. An Animal Crossing game in 2020 is just very exciting, and the wait is finally over. It's dropping on March 20th. Now, down to number 2, if we're talking about like the wait finally being over, I mean, we have to talk about HalfLife Alyx. This is dropping on March 23rd, and it is a new game developed by Valve Software. You know, they mostly work on Steam and MOBA and esports stuff now, but they used to work on Left 4 Dead, Half-Life, Portal, and now they are kind of going out of their way to develop a full-fledged VR game. Apparently this is an incredibly lengthy campaign, but it is full big budget VR, and a lot of people are saying like if this is going to be the first killer app of VR, and a lot of people are saying if there's any game that's going to be the first like real killer app of VR, it's going to be HalfLife Alyx because it has Valve behind it and it has Half-Life behind it. Is it Half-Life 3? No, it's not. It's actually kind of like a prequel to Half-Life 2 before Gordon arrives in City 17, so there's that. But who knows where it goes from here. I am very curious to try this out, especially with the full hand tracking support. The potential for this just being a really creative, fun, innovative, solid, well-made VR game is really high. We like VR here for the most part. We really do, so we're probably going to be covering this in a before you buy and stuff like that, so be sure to keep your eyes peeled. Is it a bummer that it isn't Half-Life 3? Yes. Also, is it a bummer that it is a VR exclusive title? Yes. Some might say it's a necessary evil to get more eyeballs, more people trying to get into VR, but also, I also see a ton of Half-Life fans that don't have VR and aren't going to spend a ton of money on VR that are totally left out in the cold. Regardless, however you feel about it, we're looking forward to hearing from you. It's dropping on March 23rd. But down to number 1, of course, one of our most anticipated games of the year if you watch our videos all the time. It's Doom Eternal. This is the expansion, the complete blowout of what they set up with Doom 2016. Essentially, how the original Doom to Doom 2 is, that's going to be Doom to Doom Eternal. They are really blowing this game out with tons of new abilities and tons of things to manage, where in the last game, you would worry about just using a couple of items to pop things out of enemies. Now you can also use a flamethrower to set them on fire, and also all the new traversal stuff. You're having double jumps, you're having double dashes, you're swinging on poles, you're climbing certain wall textures. You can essentially hop around arenas and play like the floor is lava and not touch anything. The potential for high-speed action combat and comboing your way through it is so exciting here, even more so than the first game. All the stuff that we've seen here and what we've played at like E3 and stuff just really makes sense. The new weapons are exciting. The shotgun with a grappling hook. What more is there to say, man? We've talked up this game a ton. We're really excited to see where they also take the lore, where they're taking Doom Guy, and essentially he has his own space station, his own little base, his own little hub. That is very weird, but we're really excited to see them try new Doom ideas here. Our first impressions just from preview events and stuff are incredibly high, and like we said, Doom Eternal is really one of our most anticipated games, next to Cyberpunk 2077, of course. And thankfully, we're finally getting our hands on it. We're gonna raise hell on March 20th. But of course, those are the games in March 2020 that we think are worth paying attention to. And of course, we want to hear from you guys in the comments. What are you going to be playing this month? What do you got your eyes on? Is there something we missed? Let's talk about any of that down in the comments. We want to hear from you guys. And of course, if you learned something from this video, maybe found out a new game, clicking the like button is the best way you can help us out. We'd really appreciate that. And if you're new, maybe consider subscribing, hitting that notification bell, because we put out videos every single day. Well, either way, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.